Here we go. Nice little send. Oh yeah! Woo! Oh, I love this thing. Alright, what's happening, everybody? It's your boy Brap Genius back at again with another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about building versus buying.
Yeah, start it off right, boys!
Oh yeah, bud! Send it! Yeah! So before we get into this, obviously you guys know the way that I went was building a Supermoto. For me, I wanted to do it because I felt it was a more rewarding experience. I had never built a bike before. Even though this wasn't intense, I didn't have to go into the motor, but it was still a build, you know? So for me, I wanted to try that. There'd be something different to do, and that was the experience that I wanted. However, it's not for everybody. So I'm gonna kind of explain the process of the build, and whether or not it's right for you guys to build your own motorcycle, or if you should just go out and buy your own Supermoto. So first, let's talk about price. For a regular Supermoto, if you want to buy something that's already built, street legal, you're probably looking around 4 to 5 grand would be my guess, is what most, like DRZ 400s and things like that, that's probably about what they're going for. Now that being said, if you build your own Supermoto, can you do it for cheaper than that? You can, but being honest, building is probably going to be more expensive than buying one straight up. Which may make you think, well then if it's going to be more expensive, why would you want to do that? Well, there's a few reasons. One would be for your ability to, you know, say, hey, I built this thing. That's kind of, especially for my generation, you know, I'm getting to my late 20s now. Building Supermotos is used to be how it had to be done. You have all these different styles of Supermotos that you could buy literally from the factory today. Back in the day, that's not how it was done. If you wanted a Supermoto, you had to build it. You had to take a dirt bike, you had to register it, you had to, you know, put street tires on it, put lighting kit on it, you know, go into it, change the gearing even sometimes, change the transmission, all of these different things that, you know, now you don't have to deal with. So for me, that's kind of how it was, is a lot of the older people, the community, the older community of the Supermotos, they looked at Supermotos like building your own, like that was cool, man. It was like the style, just kind of what everybody did. And that was the experience that I wanted when getting a Supermoto, especially because it was really the last kind of style bike that I had never ridden or owned. I had owned pretty much every other style of bike up until this point in my life. So for me, I wanted something different, and I wanted to, you know, build something for myself and customize it for me. And another reason you may want to build it is the platform itself. This is a YZ250 dirt bike that I've converted into a Supermoto. So this thing has more power than your traditional 400 DRZ 400, and not only that, it is extremely lighter. This bike is so flickable, so light in the turns, and it's just so fun to ride because of that. The power to weight ratio is just insane, and that's what really makes it fun for me. You know, I'm kind of going nice and leisurely back here. When I do videos, I'm always focused on talking, so I never go as fast as I, you know, actually can or really push myself. But I mean, this thing just barks, man. She loves to go. And like I said, it's not that I wouldn't enjoy, you know, buying like a WR250 or something. It's just this bike is just a much more fun build than, to me, I would enjoy this more than, say, a WR250 in my opinion, even though the maintenance for that is easier, which is something else I'm going to get into. If you build your own bike, you have to understand the maintenance on it is going to be more intensive. The WR250s are unbelievably reliable and great bikes, dude. Oil changes like a car. You do an oil change every 3,000 miles. I do oil changes on this thing every 10 hours. Which again, I don't mind it. Some people do. For me, I can do an oil change in 15 minutes. You know, it's very easy. But if you're not as experienced and you don't have as much time and you want to just get on the bike and go, you know, buying it's going to be obviously a much easier process. I'm lucky enough where in the winter, when some of my other jobs that I do kind of slow down a little bit, I do have a little bit of extra time, you know, a day here or there every week that I, you know, I'm like, hey, you know what, I have time. Maybe instead of doing the regular riding content, maybe I go through it and, you know, I work on a bike and I do some kind of build, you know, and that makes it fun. That's just what I like to do. But maybe you don't have that kind of time. And you don't want to be doing that. And when you have extra time, you don't want to be working on a bike, which is okay. It's not for everybody. So, you know, that's just the thing. These Supermoto wheels that I bought, I have to torque spec them every 2 rides. I mean, that's what it says. You know, I don't actually do it every 2 rides, especially I don't go that far. But technically, you're supposed to do that. You know, like I said, knock on wood, this wiring kit I put on here for the lighting has been great. Hopefully it lasts a while, but eventually I'm going to have to replace that. You know, just, it's not anything crazy. It's just the maintenance on it is a little bit more intensive than it would be on, say, a WR250 Supermoto. You know, you could buy those from somebody that already put the wheels on it. That's really the only difference with like a WR. Is, yeah, they might technically be an Enduro, but you put Supermoto wheels on them, they're still a 6-speed. You're going to be able to just ride it, you know. Or if you had to do a build for that, you know what I mean? All you have to do is wheels. You know, you don't have to go through and do a lighting kit and all these other modifications, change out the transmission and blah blah blah. One specific gear WR they literally made from the factory, so you can find them from the factory with a Supermoto setup. And especially these newer ones like the KX, now they have now Kawasaki has some Supermoto that they built that you could literally just go out and buy, and it's set up. And like I said, if you're looking for something a little less intensive, you want to just go out and buy it, that's great. But one downside to that is they don't have as much power. And if you're not in it for power, like you really just want to cruise, then by all means. But most people that ride them, that have experienced other motorcycles, you know, they'll tell you, they'll be like, it's cool, man, but it's not as fun. And I will say that is, in my opinion, a bike that you build for you will always be more fun because you've set it up for yourself and you put in the effort to make it your own. And that was something that was rewarding. You know, for me, you have to understand the cost of the build too. You know, say you buy a dirt bike for even $3 grand, right? You find a good deal on a dirt bike, it's $3 grand. It seems to have been maintained pretty well. Well, now you got to buy Supermoto wheels. If you buy them new, which I would recommend because you don't know what kind of damage used ones have taken. You know, if you buy it and there's something wrong with them that you're not aware of, you know, now you're going to have to deal with that for the rest of the time that you own that bike. So that's $1,500 for the Supermoto wheels. And then if you want to, you know, depending on where you are, if you buy it, it's straight up dirt, it doesn't have a street title, you have to pay to get it titled. You have to buy a street kit for it, which I did as well. Among other things, I figured, you know, do new plastics, gas tank, everything, make sure it matched correctly. So by the time I was all said and done, you know, I ended up paying another $1,500 for the extra mods that I had to do to set it up with the big brake and, you know, the new sprockets and all these different things. So you're looking at $3,000 on top of, $3,000 on top of the purchase of the bike. So if you spend, you know, $3 grand on the bike and you have to put $3 grand into it, yes, you can do it for cheaper. But understand, now you spent $6 grand when you could have just bought one for like $4,500. Which, like I said, to each his own. For me, I absolutely love this bike and I love the build. And owning a Supermoto, I would want to just keep this bike, and whenever it needs anything, I would rather just rebuild whatever needs to be rebuilt and just keep this bike, because now I built it for myself. So like I said, those are just my thoughts. So hit the like button, guys, hit subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.